Hello and welcome to another episode of Rank Masters. My name is Trace and I am here with...
Seth, hi, hello, welcome back to another episode.
Why are you laughing so early?
I was staring at you, I was staring directly to the camera and I thought you saw it and I wanted to see how long it could go without breaking.
Because it's almost like as soon as I started talking, you started laughing. So
yeah.
You didn't last very long.
I'm very bad at this.
Welcome to Rank Masters. This is the podcast where we take a list on the internet and I don't know. We just go through it.
We just take it. It's ours now.
We just take that list on the internet. We've claimed it as ours. Literally, that's kind of what we do. We take a similar title, and then we just upload it, and it's like, this list is ours now.
I love how we've been kind of like promoting this series because we've been using basically like very, very clickbaity styles of titles. Like if you looked at our channel and looked at Watch Mojo, visibly just looking at titles and thumbnails, the only difference is how like the frequency of uploads.
Yeah, and that's.
But then you actually like, then you actually listen to the podcast episode, and you're like, wait a minute, this is way different.
You've been duped. You
have been duped. But hey, it's okay. You know what? If you stumbled into this series or if you've been listening since the beginning, we're glad to have you. Because we like talking about weird things.
We do. And particularly me. I love the weird.
Yes.
And we'll get more into that today.
You love all these supernatural lists, don't you?
I love the supernatural. This is when I get to do a supernatural episode, spoilers for later on. This is my way of having a supernatural podcast with you without you also having to do a supernatural podcast.
Yeah, I can talk about random stuff like breakfast foods and Disney villains, and you get to talk about like weird ghosts and alien abductions. I'm like, okay,
exactly.
Yeah, this works.
It's a good dynamic. It's a back and forth. Okay.
It is, yeah, it's nice.
No, I wanted to do something that I thought was going to be really fun. But first, I want to address that my camera is darker today. Because we're currently going through that winter storm. Did you even get any snow where you're at?
Yes, we did.
I have gotten no snow.
Really? Okay.
It's been snowless here. And I've been so disappointed because people kept on telling me, oh, we're going to get snow. It's going to be the most snow you've seen in years.
Yeah.
Blah, 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 blah. Mm-mm.
We didn't get a lot where I am, but we got some. It was a notable amount of snow. But I don't think you ever need to apologize for like lighting or the weather and all that jazz. Most of our people are probably just going to be listening. Visuals are secondary at this point. I fully understand that. You should understand that too.
This is my opportunity to say, like, if you feel better having a visual aspect to your podcasts, we are also available on YouTube. Same name, Rank Masters.
And apparently Spotify lets you watch our videos. It's weird, but I get it. I understand.
Yeah, I've tried it. I'm like, I'm never going to use Spotify in this way, but hey, look, it's there.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is cloudy. It's a little dreary. It's really windy.
Can I match your vibe real quick? I'm just gonna.
Oh, can you?
I'm gonna turn off my lights. There we go. Now we have the same environment.
Except your background is so well lit.
Shh. Don't say anything about the background. I can't control that right now. Here, maybe this. Ooh, that kind of. I like that. I like that orangish. Anyway, sorry, I'm getting distracted.
Yeah, I was gonna say it matches the spooky vibes that I'm gonna create.
It does
today in this podcast.
What is today's list, Trace? You're in charge of this one.
Today we are counting down the 9 best urban legends of Kansas.
Of Kansas specifically.
Ooh. See, I chose Kansas to start out with because we have both spent significant time in Kansas.
We have. I don't know how long you've lived in Kansas, but I have lived in Kansas since I was like 7 or 8, around that age.
I've only lived in Kansas since I started college.
Okay.
So, and then I dropped out of college and then stayed in Kansas. So
I'm glad you're still here. You know what? We're still Kansas folks.
Yeah, we're still Kansas folks now. But I have done a lot of traveling in Kansas, and I lived right close to the Kansas border for a few years. And so I've spent a lot of my life at least near Kansas or in Kansas.
Nice.
And I have heard of some of these, and I was curious if you had as well. So that's why I'm like, I want to do this to get us started off. We'll probably do urban legends of other states, but this will get us to like, it's turf that we know at least somewhat. I can't guarantee you know all of it, but
I would be surprised. How many did you say was on this list?
9. It is 9 stories.
I would be surprised if I know 2. Like, there's a chance I know one of them, but I'm not very like culturally aware of my own surroundings. And like I don't actively pursue like urban legends, ghost stories, stuff like that. So odds of me knowing any of this pretty darn low. But hey, we'll see what happens.
And so one of the items on this list is actually something I believe we've talked about in a previous list.
Okay.
And I cannot remember what that list was.
We were talking about, I think it was the alien abduction one. We talked about like a gate to hell being somewhere.
Okay, enough of a spoiler for that one.
Is that on the list? Is that the one you're talking about?
We will see.
Okay,
we'll see. Okay,
fine. You're the one who brought up the fact that we'd already talked about it.
All right. Well, let's get into the list. This is actually coming from Only in Your State.
Only in Your State. That's an interesting website name.
It is a very interesting website name. I have also actually seen a lot of this website before.
Okay.
Just because I like to figure out what's in my state.
Yeah, I mean that sounds like a good plan. I like knowing things that are near me. I probably won't see them, but good to know, you know?
See, I like to see them. That's why I frequented this website. But
if I had more time to travel, I would. But I am
their
broke.
list also kind of sucks because it doesn't give a lot of information about each of these categories they've had. So I have done research, my friend. I have done research and found more stories to go along with it so that we had a nice, good chunk of stuff to know the stories of these urban legends. Because it is not fun to just say an urban legend. You have to hear it.
Yeah, I mean, I get that. And I appreciate you putting more work into this podcast than I have.
No, you're the editor, all right. So
I
think...
in terms of this kind of podcast, that is not that much work. But okay, so shall we actually get started? Shall we jump into this podcast?
Yeah, turn off your lights, get some hot chocolate. Well, unless you're like driving, maybe keep the headlights on. If you're driving,
turn off the sun. And then you just drive in the dark. Who cares?
And we're gonna get started off with the spooky vibes, coming in at number 9.
Number 9
with Molly from Atchison.
I've heard of both of those things, not together. I've heard of Atchison and I've heard of Molly. Is there just people? Are there people who smoke weed in Atchison? Is that what this is?
Okay, first of all, that is adorable, but Molly is not weed.
Isn't it? Wait, what is Molly then?
Molly is ecstasy. It's
Oh, okay.
Wait, what is it? MDA? Shit. No,
I don't know the chemical compound of ecstasy.
Anyway, it's Molly is not
MDMA.
weed.
That's what you're thinking of. Okay.
Yes, I can never get it right in the right order.
Letters are hard. Chemistry is weird.
But it is people dropping in Atchison. This is what this is about.
People dropping. Really. Like from
we'll
a plane?
We'll get into drug terminology when you're older, okay, Seth?
I'm 22. I'm pretty close to your age. It's fine.
When you're older, okay.
Okay, fine.
Long ago, a woman named Molly tragically died in Jackson Park in Atchison. Some say she was lynched for having a fondness for her, and this... I want to get into a little bit of a trigger warning, because some of these stories, they're urban legends. They can have some really tough topics.
You said lynched. Huh?
I know, and it's going to get worse.
Worse than lynching? Okay. Why are we doing this list?
Because there's also fun parts to this.
That's fair. All right, so tell me about Molly. What is Molly's story? But apparently getting lynched.
We can preface this. Trigger warning, but also... One of the best things about urban legends and folklore is you get to learn a little bit of history about where you are.
That's neat.
And that can either be a cultural history, it can be an actual history of something that really did happen. And that's what I love about folklore and urban legends so much. But anyway, just saying it up front, I'm reading specifically from Haunted Atchison's fake Facebook page.
Oh, dang, you did some real research for this, didn't you?
I did. Okay.
Wow, okay.
Some say she was lynched for having a fondness for her slave master.
Oh, okay, so this is like old.
Old.
Gotcha.
But then there's a more recent version that was created to possibly ditch that really kind of bad vibes of that story.
Fair enough.
And this is the one that seems to be told more. In a more recent version of the tale, Molly and her boyfriend got into a vicious argument at the park, and her boyfriend then drove off.
Okay.
Left alone in the park, Molly decided to hang herself in a tree.
Ah, I see.
See that? Mm-hmm.
I understand where these content warnings came from now.
Yeah, some content warnings. But no matter which version you choose to believe, today's visitors of the park claim that you can still hear Molly's screams in the middle of the night. Others have felt an eerie presence or unseen hands touching, pulling, or grabbing them as they make their way through the hollow.
Interesting. That's a spooky story for sure, and weird elements in relation to real life.
So I'm actually glad they started out with this one. Weird because Atchison is known for a completely different haunted place, and that's the Sally House.
Okay.
So it's weird. That one doesn't make the list, which really is confusing to me. They decided to go with Molly, the lesser known ghost, instead of the Sally House.
Hey, maybe this urban legends list is trying to be unique.
They're trying to just be a little bit unique.
Yeah.
But this is something you see in so many urban legends, is like you have some type of tragedy, and then you have people seeing a recurring image of this ghost like doing the same thing. And it is so weird. It happens like everywhere across like the entire United States. So this is a really good like entry level urban myth that I'm glad that they started with that one.
It definitely feels like the standard urban legend. You know, this is like. I guess by urban legend you could also include like Bigfoot and stuff. I don't think that kind of counts as like the ghost shenanigans going on.
But their urban can go past just ghosts. But yes, yeah.
Is this list just ghosts, or is it like beyond ghosts
no,
as well? Okay.
It goes beyond as well.
It goes beyond
there
as well.
There are a lot of ghosts.
Is Bigfoot in Kansas?
No.
Damn.
I can tell you no.
I know Bigfoot's real. I met him and he sucked my dick.
Give me his number, all right?
He doesn't have a phone. You just gotta scream really loudly. He'll find you.
Okay, so his number is screaming really loudly.
Yeah, exactly.
That's great. I'm sure my neighbors will love that. Me at 3 a.m. screaming for Bigfoot to come suck my dick. Yeah, that's fantastic.
I mean, hey, they could join in on the fun.
Did you have an urban legend like this near where you grew up?
No, I don't. Again, I was not very culturally aware of my surroundings. I didn't.
That's completely fair.
If there were ghost stories or stuff around me, I didn't know.
See, it kind of reminds me of one that my mom used to tell me about how, like, when she was a kid, her and her friends would go to a set of railroad tracks, and if you flashed your lights 3 times and then honked your horn, you would see a woman, like, standing on the railroad tracks, and apparently she had, like, jumped in front of a train because she was jilted by her lover.
Huh. Oddly specific cheat code.
It's a very oddly specific cheat code to glitch into the Matrix. You're right. But that's what they did for fun, I guess, in the 70s. So
why not,
whatever.
Right?
Now, here's one that feels, I don't know, it's a little weird.
Weird as in, like, you might suspect this is fake, or...
No, I mean, a lot of... I can suspect some of these are fake, but that's just the nature of urban legends and myths.
True.
But coming in at number 8 is the albino woman of Rochester Cemetery in Topeka.
That is a very oddly specific title to the story. What is this story of this anonymous albino woman in Rochester? So Rochester, you said?
Yeah.
Okay.
Rochester Cemetery in Topeka.
Topeka. Gotcha.
The state's capital.
Yes, I'm aware of Topeka. I live in Kansas. I know where Topeka is.
Just in case you didn't know, Topeka, the state's capital. Not Kansas City, contrary to popular belief.
That's so dumb to me. Like... Why is Kansas City not in Kansas for the most part? Like, Kansas gets a tiny bit of Kansas City.
It's got like a half-ish.
No, it's less than half. Most of Kansas City's in Missouri.
Yeah, well, all the good parts of Kansas City is in Missouri, but don't tell KCK that. They'll go ape shit on you.
Kansas City, Kansas people, y'all don't have the good shit.
You don't? I'm sorry.
Whenever I visit my friends in Kansas City, most of our time is spent on the Missouri side, okay? That's where the shit, that's where the cool shit is, you know? I get it.
That's where the fun happens.
It is where the fun happens. That's where I found Bigfoot.
That's where you found, so he's in Missouri.
Well, he was that time. That's where I first found him, but we had a conversation.
Was he like at a like a record store in like Kansas City, Missouri. But he's like, yeah, I actually live over in Kansas City, Kansas half the time.
Yeah, he's just a hipster.
Yeah, he's just a hipster guy. You just found a really hairy man.
A really hairy man. Yeah, that's
you're
how
like,
it
oh my
works.
god, Bigfoot.
It's Bigfoot. I mean, he did have big feet. No, okay. So
Now,
tell me
I don't
about
know-
this albino woman.
It feels icky because I don't know if albino is like a word used to like. I don't know. I tried to look into it. I couldn't really find anything directly. I
don't think albino is ever seen as offensive. Like I don't know. It definitely feels like it could be. It could be used as a slur in similar ways to many of the slurs are. But I don't think I've ever like seen anyone complain about it. I don't think I've ever like, seen
people who are more
say they dislike that term.
People who are more woke than I, get back to me on that. I want to learn, I guess. But around Halloween, kids... Oh, sorry. This is from Visit Topeka, like literally the city government's like destination page.
City government. There we go.
Yeah. So from Visit Topeka, around Halloween, kids often like to hear the story of the albino woman who supposedly roams around the Rochester Cemetery in North Topeka. And the way that this first sentence starts out, it just sounds like a woman who's alive that they've made a tourist attraction, and that's horrible. But,
okay, that is a lot weirder.
But that's not what it is. Okay. Kathy Ramirez with Ghost Tours of Kansas filled in Visit Topeka on the information she gathered about the ghost. So it is someone who's dead, at least.
Supposedly, I mean... What if they're just seeing this albino person and they're like, she's as white as a ghost. Oh, this must be a ghost. Oh, that would be would make it so much worse. That would be incredibly rude. Holy shit. It really
is rude. The actual the native list that we're going off of does describe it as an albino woman who may or may not still be alive.
May or may not still be. Oh god.
So even they're a little confused on whether or not this woman is still just there. But
I feel so bad for this woman if she is alive because she's getting literally the state government writing articles about her. Oh,
not the state government. It would be the Topeka government. That's a city government.
But it's the capital of the state. So okay, I understand now. My bad.
But
whoops!
The woman... Sorry. The way you said whoops was very hilarious to me. The woman was... Let me just get to the story, okay?
Get to the story,
to get to the story.
Okay, I will shut up. Okay.
The woman was a maid in a 2-story house near Rochester Cemetery in Topeka.
Okay.
To this day, her name remains unknown. The closest Kathy, the woman from Ghost Tours, Kansas, came to uncovering the woman's name was from the son of a lawyer who handled her death. So this was a real woman.
Yeah.
But the papers were disposed of before he got to them. Shortly after 1965, the sheriff's office began reviewing reports of a ghostly woman in white with pink eyes. One of Kathy's former junior high school teachers actually spoke to the ghost, who asked him and his friend what they were doing in the cemetery. When they replied, "To see you," she said they had better get going because she had to go. She's well, fine.
She's just really
leave because I'm leaving.
She Kathy had to go to the supermarket. I get it. I understand.
Yeah, she was like, "I'm just passing through."
Yeah.
What the hell?
This is literally just the shortcut on the way to and from her house. You know.
Yeah, she's like, it just happens to be a cemetery. Yeah.
I feel so. Okay, given the dates that you said, that is an old lady if she's still alive.
Yes, she would be very old, and apparently, like they knew that she had a death certificate. It had been disposed
of. Yeah. The fact that she's apparently, when you said her name is still unknown, I'm like, hi unknown. That's just her name now.
Yeah, it remains to be unknown.
Yeah.
So happy for her and her unknown.
Honestly, that's non-binary name right there.
Very unbinary.
Unbinary. I mean, hey, yeah, true.
Kathy said more than 100 people on her tours have reported seeing the ghost, sometimes with a white German Shepherd, and it's so great that her dog is also albino. Mm-hmm. And some folklore say she's been seen with poodles, unknown if they are white. Sorry, go ahead.
That would be very off-brand if she had poodles of any other color. So imagine she just dyes her poodles like rainbows. Like
she's an ally.
She's an ally. I
Speak,
mean,
Valentina.
we already know she has like a non-binary name. She might be non-binary. This article could be calling her a woman. And I'm like, no, that's not right.
No.
She's just she's based. Just has some really hype dogs.
The last reported sighting was 3 years ago by a man driving to Goodyear on Maringer Road. I guess if you're in Topeka, these names mean stuff to you.
Yeah, I never heard that name.
Kathy said her stomping ground is close to Highway 25, 35th Street, Rochester Road, and Maringer Road. If you're a ghost tourist, there you go. Have fun, I guess.
There you go. Feel free to visit Topeka and try to find this albino lady who may or may not be a ghost or a real living person.
She may just be alive.
Or just a dog lover who takes like a shortcut through the cemetery. I mean, that happens, right?
Apparently, Kathy Ramirez did find people who knew the woman when she was alive.
I mean, anyone would say that, right?
Right, but like, she found people who at least seemed believable enough that they knew this woman. So it's actually a very interesting read. But yeah, so if you're ever in Topeka and you see a woman in white with pink eyes, you could just be seeing a real life person, and maybe you should like not report that.
Yeah, like that. A little sketchy that like I understand the correlation between albino people and ghosts. Like ghosts are often like being described as white as snow, like almost ethereal people, strange
like
eyes.
ghostly white.
Albino people do have like pink to red eyes, so like I'm curious how many times someone has like reported a ghost that it's just an albino person, They're just
who's just chilling. Like
they're just vibing.
This could be appropriative, but I get your plight. I'm white as hell. You could say my complexion of that is mayonnaise. But like,
you're not albino, Trace.
I know I'm not albino. Okay, I do have some pigmentation in my skin.
Yes,
it's just really not there.
It's harder to see with the snowstorm going above you.
I forgot to ask you, how do you feel about this urban legend? Do you think it's better, worse than the last one? How are you feeling?
It depends on whether or not this is a real person.
I mean, she really at least used to be a real person.
All I'm saying is this might be a real living, like currently living lady.
It's just her daughter. Like it's the original woman's daughter.
She's just
she like actually plays it up.
The cemetery.
No, like she does it on purpose. Like she actually like wears like period clothing. And she goes and gets her white German Shepherd or poodles, depending on the day.
I fucking
and she's
love
like,
that.
Time to go pretend to be a ghost for a few hours, I guess. Like, let's go.
The only potential complication with this being like a living citizen of Topeka or something like that is if you live in Topeka, which is kind of like a city-ish area. I say city-ish because like
city-ish?
Well, it's hard to really have a city in Kansas. The largest things we have are like Kansas City and Wichita, and that's neither of those are really cities.
It's the third largest metro area in Kansas, but it's our capital.
Again,
love it.
Setting the bar real low for that standard. But I don't know. I feel like someone would like. Yeah, I saw her at the supermarket the other day or something like that. Yeah, she walked in the Walmart or like. She eats at this local restaurant all the time or something like. I don't know. It feels like. It feels like there'd be more knowledge of the citizens in the area.
When I was trying to find urban legend like lists, there was one that like a haunted Walmart kept on popping up in Kansas, and I thought that was like very Walmart. Very Kansas. Love it. Like the destination we all have to go to is Walmart.
Please, is that not on this list? Is that on a different list that we didn't?
It is not on this list. It is actually not included in any lists. It was just something that kept on popping up as an urban legend of Kansas.
Trace,
so it did not happen on the list.
We could have just lied and pretended that it was on this list and talked.
We link the lists. People can check.
Oh, how many people do you think are clicking the links?
I don't know, but like they could, and they'd be like, "Why did they include this Walmart? It's not on the list."
I gotta ask, whenever we wind up making our own list, are we gonna like make a link to the list, or are we just gonna be like, hey, don't?
Well, I mean, no, I don't think so. We don't have to credit anyone's work if we do that.
That's true. We don't.
It's just our own work. It's a 100% our creation.
Yeah. All right, let's move on from this albino woman in Topeka because I've run out of things to say about her.
Coming in at number 7. and I love this man's name.
Okay.
The Hamburger Man of Hamburger Hill.
Huh?
In Hutchinson.
In Hutchinson, okay. That's the State Fair area.
Yes, there's a State Fair area.
Okay.
I've been in that area. Have you been to the
I've been to the State Fair, yeah, a few times.
So did you ever hear anything about the Hamburger Man of Hamburger Hill? I did not hear
about the Hamburger Man of Hamburger Hill.
Did someone
I haven't heard of
you?
Hamburger Hill. This sounds like fair shit, though. This definitely sounds like the kind of thing that like comes from the State Fair. It's like, oh, we have a carny attraction, right? Come visit the ghost man of Hamburger Hill who eats hamburgers.
No, he's not a ghost.
Oh, he's a real man?
He is a real man.
Whoa, okay. Tell me about this Hamburger Man.
Sorry, I misspoke. Let me tell you about him. This one's a short one.
Okay.
But I love it. This is coming from WSU's The Sunflower, which is their student newspaper, I believe.
Gotcha.
The sand hills just north of Hutchinson are rumored to be the stomping grounds of the deformed Hamburger Man, a half-ghost, half-monster creature that attacks his victims with a hook and takes their bodies back to his shack, hidden in Sand Hills State Park. This sounds like the hash slinging slasher.
Yeah, this does not sound like a real story. Someone watched that episode of SpongeBob. This was a student project to try and figure out if they can make an urban legend themselves. That's what this feels like.
No, apparently, this pops up more than just within the Sunflower. Like it seems to be more pervasive than what you and I are probably led to believe. It was
okay.
Anyway.
Where does the hamburger come from, though?
I was just about to get there.
Gotcha.
It's here where his name starts to make sense. The Hamburger Man then grinds his victims into hamburger meat. Delicious.
Tasty. That's
a quote directly from the paper.
That student who wrote that paper is a cannibal.
Yeah, they were like, I can get behind that. The person who actually wrote it is the Hamburger Man, like trying to get their degree.
This is just self-advertising at this point, yeah.
It's like, ooh, you better not go to Sandhill State Park. Hint, hint, wink, wink. Like doing reverse psychology to try to get more people to go there.
I mean, hey, yeah, there's a lot of ghost hunters. They will visit anywhere there's a story.
But like, that's the most I could get out of this. But I'm so confused about the hook hand. Like,
yeah.
Where did he get that? Was he just born without a hand?
Possibly.
Was it a horrible accident? Was he dirt biking on Sandhill State Park and lost a hand?
I haven't heard of Sandhill State Park, but knowing dirt bikers in Kansas, probably.
I mean, I just assume that's what goes on at Sandhill State Park because I don't know. When I think about like the dunes back in Colorado where I'm from, that's what they were mostly used for, was like ATV, dirt bikes. So I'm assuming that's what goes on at Sandhills State Park.
Does Sandhills actually have sand? Like
I don't know. I've never been there.
There are a lot of like. Hold on, I have to look this up now. Sandhills. The first thing is Nebraska.
Yeah, no, that's not right.
Sandhills, Nebraska is technically north of everything in Kansas, but no, we're looking for.
It's just north of Hutchinson.
Gotcha. Sandhills State Park, Kansas Department of Wildlife and Parks. There is not sand.
No, it does. Does it not have sand?
It is a grassy state park.
Then where does the sand come from?
Like I'm trying to find pictures of it. I mean, there are hills, but they're not sandy in the slightest. They just look like grass. They look like a standard state park. Yeah. It's a plain. It's just slightly more hilly than the rest of Kansas.
I don't. Maybe it's got like some type of sand, like every once in a while. I don't.
Possibly.
I don't know. I'm trying to give him a little bit of benefit of the doubt. That doesn't feel right. Why would you name it Sandhill State Park?
Either way, it does look like the kind of place that you could go ATVing in. So hey, who knows? Maybe that's where the Hamburger Man of Hamburger Hill lost his hand.
I'm glad you remembered his full given name.
You said it, and I couldn't forget. That was an important part of it.
Can you look up Hamburger Hill? Is Hamburger Hill an actual place? I didn't actually look up to see if Hamburger Hill is like one of the hills in Sandhills State Park. And if it is, why is it named Hamburger Hill?
I typed up Hamburger Hill. The only things I could find are direct references to the Hamburger Man.
Interesting.
There's an amino apps thing about it. There's a YouTube, a Pinterest. keep talking so I can figure out more.
Yeah, no, I assume that it is just a part of the legend. But then again, like, I feel like this is an opportunity for them to actually name a hill Hamburger Hill. Because I think that would be kind of cute. Like, oh, we have this legend that people talk about this mass murderer that grinds people into meat. Hamburger Hill.
Everything I can see about Hamburger Hill is only in reference to the Hamburger Man. I think
Hamburger Hill.
I think this might just straight up be like, I joked about this earlier. I think this is just this student's or some weird student's attempt to make an urban legend by making up a completely unknown hill in Sand Hill State Park and saying, yeah, there's a Hamburger Man there. Yeah,
like, why would you go to Sand Hill State Park? They don't have any sand.
Hey, maybe that's the appeal of Sand Hills. You know, everyone hates sand. It's rough. It's coarse. It's irritating. It gets everywhere.
We live in Kansas. You get no sand everywhere you go.
Yeah, exactly.
So what's the point of a state park that has no sand?
What's the point of a state park called Sand Hill in the first place? Even if it did have sand. What's the point of sand? Let's just abolish sand. Phones will no longer exist. Toothpaste also won't exist, but it's fine.
I asked for Sand Hill enthusiasts, but I don't even think it even exists. All right, we can move on. Number 6. We have The Ghost of Paola High School.
I haven't heard of Paola High School. Where is this?
I think I've heard of Paola. Maybe.
I'm like, there's a lot of completely random towns in Kansas that you, like, despite how long the both of us have lived here, we would have never heard of. But Paola, I haven't heard of that one. So
apparently it's near the Missouri border. But, okay. So this is coming from Midwestern Horror Stories on Amino.
Gotcha.
Paola is a small town of 5,600 residents, kind of large, in eastern Kansas near the Missouri border. In 1918, a modern 16-classroom high school was built in the building, now home to the Paola Fire Station. After
Interesting
decades,
run-on sentence there, but
yeah, I was a little confused.
You were struggling to get through it, yeah.
But hey, you know, it's coming from Amino. Give him some slack.
That's true. Oh my god.
After decades of growing enrollment, however, the community decided to build a larger school in 1970. Adjacent to its new football field, track, and locker room.
Okay.
It was, at the time, the most modern high school building in the state. According to this one random person in Amino.
Again, really low bar.
Really low bar. In 1992, however, the Paola School District built another high school just east of... These people are building schools just left and right. Another high school just east of there. Time, yeah. And the old high school became home to Paola Middle School.
Okay.
During its 22 years as a high school, a legend was born. The legend concerns 2 competing band members, one of whom tripped and fell and broke his neck as he was trying to push a rival down a set of stairs.
Oh, brutal. Hello?
The boy, who was a terrible trumpet player, apparently, wanted desperately to occupy his rival's seat in the front row at football games. Ever since... Go ahead, sorry.
This rivalry was all about that pep band.
It was pep band bullshit.
This ghost just wanted first chair. Let him have first chair in wind ensemble, band director. Come on.
Ever since, students have reportedly heard the sound of an off-key trumpet echoing down the halls, particularly in the month of September.
Oh, no.
Why do they have to drag him like that?
Don't you remember?
Like, he actually fucking sucks.
Of September. I just imagine that's all he plays during September. It's just really, really bad September.
Well, I mean, I'm assuming it's particularly in September because that's like when football happens, right?
Yeah? Yes.
I don't know. I don't watch football, high school,
Me neither.
college, or professional.
I don't remember. I know football high school was always like in the fall.
Football high school. Yeah, it's a good game. Good game, football.
High school football. Shut the fuck up. You know what I mean. But yeah, September is around that season. I mean, I guess you just get a lot of music. What if this isn't a ghost? This is just a student at the high school just practicing their trumpets. There's a practice room that nobody's aware of, and they're like, there must be a ghost somewhere here because I keep hearing trumpets and I can't tell where it's from, and it's really bad.
You have to imagine that it at least makes the bad trumpet players feel a little bit better to practice, because they could just be like, must have been that ghost. Yeah, he's playing again. Gosh darn him. I guess he must have been playing, and it was not me, of course.
Oh my god, if my high school had this story about a trombone player, I would have absolutely done that. I couldn't have gotten away with blaming the bass on it, because I don't think anyone else but me plays bass guitar. But
oh, you're the only bass guitarist.
I'm literally the only bass guitarist. Yeah, if you've heard other bass guitarists, they're actually just playing guitar and pretending it's a bass. I'm sorry. I hate to break it to you. They have like a pedal board and it knocks it down an octave and that's it.
That's why it sounds like that, obviously.
That's why it sounds like that, yeah. Is there more to this story? You said there were two.
No, that's it. When did I say there was two?
I thought you said, okay, so there were the rival band members. One of them fell.
And one broke his neck, and the other one just stood there like, what the fuck happened?
Oh, okay, the other one survived and isn't a ghost. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, no, he's like, I don't know, a big trumpet player for some band, I guess. I don't know.
Oh, okay, so we get the testimony of this person if you track down whatever band this person's in, huh?
I don't know. That was me just ad-libbing. I don't know if they...
I thought you said you did research.
I did, but not as much as what would possibly be better. I decided to just add a little bit more.
That's fair. I respect it. I commend you for that.
But no, this happened in 1992, so it's like, that's so recent.
That is pretty recent, yeah.
I have to assume that... I don't know. That feels so recent that I'm like, there would be newspaper articles that you could easily track down, right?
I want to reach out to my old high school band director and see if he's ever heard of this story, because that sounds really funny.
Like, I don't know. This one feels like 1992?
Yeah.
1992?
Yeah.
That's not that long ago.
That's pretty recent. That's only 31 years. God damn, it's 2023. That does not feel right.
Well, according to this, it's the number 6 ghost, the number 6 urban legend in all of Kansas. So good for them, I mean, guess.
Hey, pops off in 30 years, why not? All right, shall we move on to number 5?
At number 5.
Yes.
We have former K-State students in Manhattan, Kansas.
Plural? Is it multiple students?
There are multiple students. I had to do research for multiple of these bastards.
Oh my. So this is going to be a long segment here. All right.
K-State, this is a long segment.
That's the Wildcat one, or
that is Wildcats.
One? That's Wildcats.
No,
okay.
Wildcats. Purple and I almost said purple and gold. Purple and silver. Gotcha. And Jayhawks are the red and blue.
Yeah. Okay.
So
fair enough. I didn't go to. I remember touring one of them, and I don't remember which. But
I thought it said okay. K-State.
Yes.
In Manhattan, Kansas.
Okay.
Is one of the largest, most accredited universities in the state, and is home to not only living students,
I would assume
but to the spirits of a deceased football player, disgruntled Pi Kappa Phi pledge, and the last patient to die at the former Kansas State University Hospital.
So
that's coming from the list.
Okay.
And we'll get into it later because I have qualms with that statement. But that's what they gave me. I wanted to put that in there because that's what they gave me to start out with. So and that's where my research started.
The list said the last patient to die at the hospital there.
Yes.
It's a hospital. People die all the time.
Yes,
but that does tend to happen. So does that mean whenever someone new dies in the hospital, their spirit stays and the previous spirit gets released?
No, at the former Kansas State University Hospital.
Oh, it's no longer running? Okay, I missed that part.
I did research about this, and apparently I could not find a single mention of any Kansas State University hospital. I don't think one ever existed, okay? That's why I'm like, but I can't be for sure.
It's a college.
Well, I mean, some universities have hospitals, but I tried. I was like, oh, let me look into this one. I couldn't even find any mention of a Kansas State University hospital ever existing in Manhattan, Kansas.
Well, like, I assume the city has a hospital or two, like it's a Manhattan hospital or something like that.
Well, because there's KU Medical, I know that, because like kids back from my high school, even in Colorado, went to KU for med school.
Okay.
So like maybe they got it mixed up, but I don't know. We'll get into it because it's
weird.
Yeah. So this one, we're starting off with the deceased football player. This one's coming from Kansas State University's alumni blog.
Ooh. So it's bias.
So biased. Many K-Staters are familiar with the legend of Nick the Ghost.
Hi,
the
Nick.
Spirit who's hello, Nick. The spirit who supposedly haunts the Purple Mask Theater in K-State's World War I Memorial Stadium.
Okay.
Some say they've seen a white, hazy shadow lurking behind curtains or a presence that knocks equipment over during late-night rehearsals or mysteriously slams doors.
That is mysterious. I hate when
The
doors
ghost
get slammed.
The ghost was thought to be a former football player who had been injured during a game and was taken to an old cafeteria underneath the stadium where he died. And that's Nick's story.
They took him to a cafeteria?
Underneath the stadium.
That doesn't seem like where you take an injured football player. Hot take. I think injured young adults deserve, actual medical attention and
maybe
not to
some
be
hospital?
shoved in. Maybe this is Hamburger Hill. Maybe they just put him in a freezer where there were a bunch of hamburgers, and they're like, "This is where this guy goes."
So I read this and I was like, "What's going on?" Because I've been to K-State's campus a few times. I think we had mutual friends that even went to Kansas State University.
Probably.
But I know I had a friend that went to Kansas State University, and they took me to a jazz concert
Ooh, jazz.
I looked it up, and apparently it was in the Purple Mask Theater where Nick the Ghost is supposed to haunt. But he didn't make an appearance, so I feel duped.
Hey, maybe he's just shy. He doesn't show up during every jazz performance there. He just shows up some of the time.
Maybe he just hates jazz.
Honestly, you said he's a football player, and
Yeah.
You said something about him like harassing students during rehearsal.
Yeah.
Maybe he just hates band. Maybe that's just it. He slams all the doors of the stadium during band rehearsals. He's like, "Shut the fuck up! Quit your off-key trumpet playing."
He just really hates band. He's so mad because it was like he got distracted. This is my headcanon now.
Yeah.
He got distracted by some really bad players on the pep band while he was playing football. And now he just vehemently hates the band members. That's what I think.
Honestly, fair. I don't think pep band's allowed to play during a play, but sure.
But that's it, right? That's why we have that rule now, is because they killed Nick.
It's because of this specific student. Okay. You know what? I'm on board now. I understand. I get where you're going.
Or other headcanon, they were jilted lovers. Nick was in love with a pep band player and they broke up with him the night of that game.
It was the trumpet playing ghost. Wait, no,
that was high school. Died in high school.
Yeah, okay. I mean, you could have high schoolers play at a college football game.
And then they put him in the fucking cafeteria?
That's so weird to me. All right. Let's move on to one of the other stories. You said there were multiple... No, okay.
Why did they make him... I don't know. I'm still stuck in the cafeteria.
It was Hamburger... I'm telling you, it was Hamburger Hill. That was the Hamburger Man, reaping souls.
So, coming in at the next thing from hauntedplaces.com...
Okay.
Kansas State University's Pi Kappa Phi fraternity house is rumored to be haunted by a former fraternity brother named Duncan, who died from a hazing accident.
Why is it that every time I hear about fraternities, it's always some sort of hazing accident? That's the only thing I hear about fraternities, is that they either... I don't know. I only hear bad things
super
about rats.
racist, or
racist,
I am right there with you,
or actively trying to kill their own members during hazing. It's so weird.
I'm right there with you.
I'm so glad I didn't get roped into the frat thing when I went to college.
Yeah. So they also have here the Gamma Phi Beta sorority house is said to be haunted by a former house mother who was murdered by the house cook. And then it has this line, which is my favorite line in the entire list that we have here.
I'm scared.
Legend has it that when chicken nuggets are cooked inside the house, disembodied screams erupt. Specifically, chicken nuggets were mentioned.
Why chicken nuggets?
And it wasn't just from this one hauntedplaces.org place either. Like, multiple places specifically said that in this sorority house, if chicken nuggets are cooked, screams will happen.
That's amazing. Oh my god. This sorority, like, mother just fucking hates chicken nuggets. Holy shit. Just eat something else. Get chicken strips. Or fries. Or a burger. Go talk to the hamburger man on Hamburger Hill.
Actually, the problem is it's me, and it's me screaming excitedly for chicken nuggets to be made.
Ooh, true. New headcanon. That's it.
New headcanon. It's
Honestly,
just Trace.
It's just Trace. Alright. And then you said there was a third story about the weird hospital thing that doesn't exist?
Yes. So I couldn't find anything about a Kansas State University hospital except for KU Medical.
Okay.
So I don't know where that claim came from, but I did find something.
Gotcha.
And I think it fits close enough that I think this is what they were talking about. So this is coming from the K-State Collegian.
Gotcha.
Which is, I think, their student newspaper. Lots of student newspapers here.
Yeah.
It's not the last time there'll be one mentioned either.
I have a feeling student newspapers are pretty darn motivated to, convince the public that there's a ghost in their town.
Yeah, it's like a conspiracy theory. They really want to fucking make people believe in ghosts.
More revenue for the college, if so.
But like many old buildings in Manhattan, the Delta Sigma Phi fraternity house is believed to be occupied by more than just its members.
Okay.
Ghosts have been said to haunt the halls of the house since 1955, when the old St. Mary's Hospital moved from its location to a new building in Manhattan.
Was the old building on campus? Is that what that was talking about then? Like, did this used to be?
No, it was never on campus.
Okay.
But it is a hospital.
And apparently the ghosts of it are haunting a sorority house?
No, this is a fraternity.
Oh, okay.
Delta Sigma Phi opened in the old St. Mary's Hospital.
Gotcha. Okay, I see it now. I
so they occupy that building's space now.
A lot of Greek life stories in this Kansas State stuff.
Which I was surprised. We'll talk a little bit more later about why I was surprised about that, but
okay.
Sure. The members of Delta Sigma Phi claim that there are two ghosts that live in the house.
Two?
George Segal, a former patient. What?
I don't know. That name is just funny to me.
Segal. Okay, George Segal, a former hospital patient, and an entity only known as the Nurse.
The Nurse. Ooh, that's a good ghost name right there.
There is no direct relationship between the two ghosts that they say. They're not kissing in the background or anything. They're not.
Who knows? Would you know if a ghost is kissing another ghost?
I don't know. I like to assume that when I pucker my lips randomly, a ghost just kisses me back because it makes me feel less lonely inside.
Oh, that's cute.
There is no direct relationship between the two ghosts, but their whereabouts in the house have been documented by previous members of the fraternity who have allegedly encountered them.
Okay.
George Segal was a patient at St. Mary's Hospital in the early 1950s. He was bedridden and could not speak. One night, George fell off his bed and was pinned between the wall and his bed frame. So he fell off the way towards the wall and he was pinned between the two.
Yeah.
As the hospital made its transition from the Fremont Place, which is where the fraternity is, to a new location in Manhattan.
Okay.
The hospital staff was checking all the rooms and making sure all of the patients were moved out. But since George was between his bed and the wall, they forgot about him, and he just died there.
Damn, that hospital
staff
did not do a very good job of checking, apparently. That is a harsh death. Goddamn.
Yeah. And I mean, the fact that they have a name, like a full name, makes me feel like it's a little bit more believable, but who knows if it's true or not. But yeah, apparently they just see a lot of random things happening there. And the reason I'm so confused that most of these are off-campus buildings, or at least I assume all of them are off-campus buildings, are the fact that like I have heard about Kansas State University as being like a spiritual hotspot because it's all made of like limestone, and apparently like different types of sandstone, particularly limestone, is good at channeling spiritual energy. That's just what I've heard. So
that's an oddly specific connection to make there. I mean, I guess you could say that about any material, dude. There's probably some anecdote that could support that claim, but
that's fair. But it is a very large, like it is a very long-lasting theory that limestone. I think it's limestone.
I don't know the difference between limestone and sandstone. I'm going to be honest. I took one geology course in college, and honestly, that was the worst grade I got in a college course. Anyway, I do not do well in geology. But
it's like a long-lasting thing. It's not like just a modern idea. It's like something that like even older people had the idea that limestone was really good at channeling this energy.
Fair enough.
So that could be like a new spiritual mumbo jumbo, just saying that, in olden days, they believed this. But it's something I'd heard quite a bit about Kansas State University, because you can imagine how many times I Google most haunted places in Kansas.
Yeah, I can. Knowing you, that makes sense.
Just to see.
So hard.
And Kansas State University pops up a whole bunch, and then they always talk about the limestone and say how that like channels that energy.
The limestone.
Anyway, according to this list, the best stories are all off campus. Like one's a stadium, and the other two are fraternity and sorority houses.
Makes sense. Yeah.
Anyway, coming in at number 4. We have.
We need to schmoove. We're like getting late on the episode.
No, we're not. We have time. I tell you, I always watch the clock. We have time.
All right, boss.
Coming in at number 4 is from rejournals.com with the New Century Air Center Commander in Gardner, Kansas.
I have heard of Gardner. I don't know much about it, though.
Now, are you thinking of Gardner, Kansas, or Garden City, Kansas?
I know of two very different places. I am aware of both.
Okay.
My dad is a pilot. I wonder if that's why I've heard of Gardner, because you mentioned something about an air thing here.
Air Center. Yes, the New Century Air Center Commander is the name of the ghost.
I wonder if my dad's like flown it. My dad might have told me this story. I don't know anything about the story. But
this is from rejournals.com. Ghost hunters, paranormal experts, and fans of ghosts say that the New Century Air Center in Gardner, Kansas is haunted. The airport and industrial park serving the Kansas City region has made an appearance on the Haunted America show on the A&E network.
Okay.
So that's all that article said. So then I had to go to Wikipedia.
Gotcha.
And this is what they said. It is claimed the base is the site of paranormal activity after a Navy pilot crashed into an aircraft hangar next to the airport control tower in the 1950s.
Wild.
According to the report, security guards hear voices, whistles, footsteps on the floor and overhead catwalks. Okay, weird sentence, but they hear a lot of footsteps, whistles, and voices. Locks refuse to stay locked. Doors open and close without wind or human intervention, and the occasional apparition makes an appearance.
Okay. I was a little sus until you started talking about the locks and the doors and all that jazz. It seems interesting to me that the first, like before any of the actual spooky stuff, like apparitions and whatnot, we talk about hearing footsteps and voices where there are people. Wonder what that could be.
It says specifically when no one. They don't say when no one is there.
That's just like, yeah. It's
I mean, it's an implied no one is there.
So weird. I hear people talking at like this airport. Oh, weird. Who would have ever thought?
Okay.
But yeah,
that one's a very substandard.
Refusing to stay locked and stuff like that. Okay, that makes sense. That's
it's very substandard, so that one is actually short, and I plan to just kind of skip over it, unless you had more to talk about.
Nah.
Because the next one is more juicy.
Ooh, let's get to the juicy shit. What's going on? What's next?
Number 3, Fort Leavenworth National Cemetery, Fort Leavenworth.
Okay. Oh, is this the Gate to Hell one you were talking about?
No. Calm down.
Dude, every time I hear cemetery, I'm like, where are we getting to that? Because you said it. You told us that in a previous list. I don't remember where it was.
The ghost of a woman by the name of Catherine Rich, also reported as Sutter, so it could be Catherine Rich or Catherine Sutter, has often been walking the cemeteries. Wait, walking among the cemetery's tombstones. Okay, cool. She's
Yeah.
walking out there. In the fall of 1880, Catherine, with her husband Hiram and 2 children, stopped at the fort on their way to the Oregon Territory, where Hiram became the post-settler. It's probably where the Sutter name comes from.
Okay. I'm
One
confused.
day, we are giving an urban legend here.
I know.
So enjoy the story.
I
'cause
am.
this one's
I'm
a
trying
little
to
long.
track it.
So what is confusing to you then?
I don't. Just keep going. It'll make
Catherine
sense
and her husband Hiram
Yes.
are passing through Kansas on the way to Oregon.
Correct. And she
And
stops at a cemetery.
They stop at Fort Leavenworth. No, they don't
Okay.
stop at the cemetery. They stop at Fort Leavenworth, which is right next to a cemetery.
Okay.
One day, her husband sent the children to collect firewood, but they never returned. It has long been thought the 2 children, Ethan and Mary, may have wandered near a river where they were lost in the current. They just kind of jumped in, I guess.
It's Kansas. We're surprised to see water. I would jump into a current if I could. Water, that's hype, and then just immediately get drowned.
Though
We've never seen water before. It happens.
I know, it's very surprising here. Though a search party looked for the children for 3 days, they were finally given up for dead.
Oof.
The Riches stayed on through the winter, hoping against hope. Really? That's a weird
an
sentence.
odd sentence. Yeah.
Hoping against hope that their children would be found. Catherine became a familiar figure at the fort as she spent many hours walking through the snow calling out to her children. After all those endless hours in the cold, Catherine contracted pneumonia and died that winter.
Oof.
She was buried in the cemetery at Fort Leavenworth.
Okay. There's more?
There's more. Desolate.
Jesus Christ.
Hiram returned to his home in Indiana in the spring. However, a short time later, he received a message that his children were alive and well.
Huh?
Swept into the river, Ethan and Mary were rescued by a group of Fox Native Americans who took them until spring when they returned to the fort.
Aw.
However, Catherine obviously didn't get the message that her children were safe and sound.
Dead.
As she continues to walk the fort searching for her missing children. Wearing an old calico dress and black shawl, she's often observed carrying a lantern and calling out into the darkness. However, her apparition we just read that. Another ghost reported in the cemetery is Chief Joseph. That's all we really know about him. He was incarcerated in 1975. Civil War soldiers are also reported there. And yeah, that is the legend of the... Catherine Rich at Fort Leavenworth National Cemetery.
Huh. So they think she's still just around because she's continuing to search for her children.
Yeah, she doesn't know that her children are alive, so her spirit can't rest.
Told her?
I mean, maybe.
Like they know
stubborn.
Fort Leavenworth. They know where she roams in the cemetery. I feel like that's just, hey, if you see a ghost in that cemetery, just say like, hey, we found your kids. You can rest now. You can move on to the eternal plane of whatever comes next, I guess.
You're a stranger. She doesn't believe you.
Well, bring the kids one day. Hey, who knows?
They disappeared in 1880. I'm pretty sure they're dead now.
You said the kids okay, I see what you mean now. I understand.
1880. They were kids in 1880, Seth. They're not alive anymore.
It took me a minute to realize what you were trying to say. I find it strange that they never took the kids to, see their mother's grave, at least. I feel like that's kind of an important thing to do. Like, we all have lost loved ones, and we see their graves at some point, right?
There's ideas that ghosts are echoes of past events. So it could just be that this is like, sorry, I literally got to chill up my spine because it was like, ooh.
Spooky.
But
it was the rat. It's one of your rats.
Yeah, it's probably the rats.
They got out of the cage and just ran up your spine.
But like, there's an idea that ghosts are just echoes, and that they're just going through the motions that they did before they died. Like they're going through like either a high emotional time or like a really grief-stricken time, and it's just going through the motions. It's just an echo of a previous existence. Gotcha. And maybe that's what's happening here, or at least that's the theory of what's happening here. But then there's some ghosts that they're just like, no, they are fully sentient, that they are ghosts, and they are fucking with you.
For some reason, that echo idea reminds me, like, that's It's giving me Doctor Who vibes, like Vashta Narada for any Doctor Who fans out there.
Oh my god.
Hey, you know what? This is just how I associate things, okay? Can you blame me?
I say as I'm nerding out about ghosts.
Yeah.
And like you bring up Doctor Who once and I'm like, nerd alert.
Shut the fuck up, nerd. Fair. I mean,
but
this
I
was
happy
definitely
I found
a
this
juicy story. This story has a lot going into it for sure.
Yeah. It's a lot more substantive.
Yeah. Very, very well put together story. It had a solid narrative. I'm not really sure what is there to say about it. Yeah, that's a sentence. That works.
Yeah. Coming in at number 2, and I'm going to ask if you've ever heard of this river because I haven't. It says the Saline River.
I haven't heard of that. Did they just mean Salina?
That's what I thought. I was like, do they mean Salina?
I'm like, I've heard of Salina. I haven't heard of Saline.
It's Saline River Ghost in Ellis County.
Okay.
Is that not saline?
That is how you spell saline, yeah.
And I've never heard of this before, so I don't know how the fuck it's pronounced, but we're going to go with Saline River because I think it's a little funny. Okay, you look it up. While you're looking it up, I'll also tell you the story.
Sure.
This is from an article on medium.com by Kathy Coombs. I'm not going to talk about
Kathy
her
Coombs.
last name that much, but
nope, we're moving on.
love the name Kathy Coombs. As the old story goes, the ghost of Takaluma is a Native American man who walks up and down the banks of the Saline River searching for his father's skull. One resource indicated his father has been dead for centuries, while another research sounded a little more plausible, according to this author.
Okay.
As the story is thought to be a folklore and not exactly just an urban legend, it doesn't cause much pause for just to have a legend of a spirit roaming around. So that's the preface.
Gotcha.
So that's like the first one. That's like literally a story that some people will tell you is that he is just out there walking around looking for his father's skull. There's another story that goes along with that that's later on, that in the 1840s, Takaluma's father was a chief who was murdered by European American settlers. This time frame would be prior to the Battle of the Saline River, which I did research on. It's not really important. But that occurred in 1967, so this is previous to that.
Okay.
But after Takaluma died, the story has been told that for decades, his spirit continues to search for his father's skull. The folklore begins with a farmer digging in his field and finds the skull of Takaluma's father, which disturbed his resting place. Allegedly, a ghost then arose from the burial mound, giving a warning that there could be stronger spirits coming in to search for the skull, which was never located. So,
interesting.
What are your thoughts here?
I think this... Honestly, I'm surprised that it took this long to get to one of these, but I feel like there's a very common trope in ghost stories about Native American burial grounds, or like specifically Native Americans being involved in like the ghost stories. And I'm like, it's very interesting how often that is.
So I wanted to take this opportunity to talk about Native American tropes.
I'm glad we went to the same place that I did, because I'm like, so if I was diverging from you, okay.
No, I was like, this, like, I read this and I was like, okay. One thing I really, really wanted to bring up is every single time I read this story, I tried to find it in multiple places. They kept on just referring to Takaluma as Indian man. That's what they said constantly. So this is just my note that a lot of modern folklore and legends around Native people and nations it's pretty racist.
Yeah.
Usually they'll have like the wise man trope or the noble savage trope that like,
I hate
it. Like
stories.
It's like people trying to be nice to Native Americans, but it really downplays their culture. So what I looked into it, I was like, okay, what territory is this? What not? He would have been a Pawnee man or a Chihixa person.
I don't know either based of those, so I can't
based on the maps.
Pronunciations.
So here's another lesson. A lot of the names that we have for nations were assigned to them by white people. So like the Pawnee Nation is the name that they were given to by the white government. But their actual tribe name that they self-identified as was Chihixa.
Okay.
But that was what I could see based on the region, but he also could have been from the Kiowa, Arapaho, Arkansas nations and people. He could have also been Cheyenne, which was the Native American, I don't know, force army that was attacked in the Saline River battle that they mentioned in the story. So it's very, very weird to just say Indian man constantly in this story.
Yeah.
Because there are so many different versions of that. But I wanted to take that time to talk about that specific area of the racism of the story. There's more that we could get into, but that's the one lesson I'm having for today is when you hear Indian man, it's a watered down version of what could have actually been. So
yeah, it's really unfortunate just how much, specifically in the Midwest, that like Native culture has just been completely overridden, especially when you often, I feel like Native people are rarely ever talked about in the Midwest except for ghost stories, which sucks. Like, well, it is horrible. And like these ghost stories do nothing to like actually talk about them. You know,
no,
I feel so bad about it.
One of the tropes that we see is Native burial ground, which started in pop culture with Amityville Horror. And it's kind of just continued since then. People like also trying to meme on it, but it just continues the trope anyway and keeps it in pop culture relevancy. And but the one that like I don't know, it feels closest to here is like the noble savage kind of wise man trope is what I'm feeling from this one. And also you see that in like superheroes, like Native American superheroes are like, oh, they're so cool because they're so wise and like connected to nature. But really all those stories do is like further a separation and really waters down like actual traditions and cultures to, ooh, their superpowers and their magic. Which can be insulting. I can see why that's very insulting.
Yeah, I feel so weird that that's how we've decided as a society to treat people. It sucks. Yeah. But not much that individuals can do than just call it out and address it, I guess, you know?
And I tried to see if Takaluma was an actual, like, name from any of these tribes, and I couldn't find anything. Fair. I'm not going to say that's a definitive thing. Like, the information on tribes and nations...
It's limited.
...from pre-colonialism is very limited, it feels like. So, I don't know. The name could even just be a racist caricature. I don't know. I'm not going to say it is, but we do see that a lot also in stories about First Nations, and it sucks.
Unfortunate. I feel bad. Can we move on to the next one? Are we
moving on? Number fucking one.
Number one.
We have the Stoll Cemetery Gate to Hell, baby.
There it is. Okay. Wild that it took so long to get here. I mean, it makes sense that it's at number one.
It's number one.
Gate to hell.
It's the gate to hell that's in Kansas. So here we go. I'm going to tell you what's coming in from AmericanHuntingsInc.com.
Inc. I love Inc.
This is what they say. The legend says that these...
Hello? Was that one of your rats? That was a ghost. I don't know if that picked up on the mic, but we just heard like a thunk on Trace's microphone. Or like,
I mean, I'm going to assume that it's one of the cats trying to get into this.
Oh, that's true. They can also make noise. I've met your cats. I've met your rats. They are.
They're noisemakers.
They are in fact noisemakers.
That's one of the best part of having cats is you can always blame any weird noise that you have on them. Like, even if it's like you hear a disgruntled yell coming, you're like, must have just been one of the cats. That's all right.
Mm-hmm. All right.
That's me constantly.
Anyway, tell me about this Gate to Hell.
The legends say that these stories have been linked to Stoll for more than 100 years, but none of them made it into print until 1970.
That's a little late if it's been there for 100 years. Jesus.
Right?
Hurry the fuck up, Stoll paper.
In November 1974... an article appeared in the University of Kansas student newspaper that spoke
these goddamn universities
of a number of strange occurrences in the Stoll churchyard.
Okay.
According to the article, Stoll was haunted by legions of diabolical supernatural happenings.
Legions?
Or maybe legends.
Oh,
I think I may have misread legends.
Hey, fair.
And the
Both
legends
would be.
asserted that the cemetery was one of 2 places on Earth where the devil appeared in person 2 times each year. It is said that the cemetery has been the source of many legends in the area, stories that have been told and retold for over a century.
Okay. Are there going to elaborate on any of these stories, or is it just, oh, hey, Satan?
It's just, oh, hey, Satan. The piece went on to say that most students learned of Stull's diabolical reputation from their grandparents and older individuals, but that many of them claimed first-hand encounters with things that they could not explain. Mm-hmm. One student claimed to have been grabbed by the arm by something unseen, while others spoke of unexplained memory loss when visiting the place. Like many other locations of this type, the tales of devil worship and witchcraft also figured strongly into the article.
I mean, yeah, that makes sense.
Can you guess what the reaction was of the people of Stull?
Of witchcraft?
But
yeah.
Like, what?
Are you actually asking me to guess, or is this a hypothetical here?
I said, can you guess what the reactions were of the people of Stull when this article came out?
Lynch.
What?
Lynch.
This is the 70s.
Oh, okay. Okay, my bad. Look, dude, I'm tired.
I mean, they were pissed. They were mad. They were like, "You're saying that our town is full of witchcraft and devil worship?" We're like,
I mean, it is Kansas.
I have been to the town. Like I said in the previous one, I went to Stull Cemetery.
Yeah.
I visited it. The church that apparently the devil walks out of is crumbled. It is just a pile of rubble now.
Satan won. He took over that church. I don't know what to tell you.
Satan didn't eat my ass.
Damn, what a tragedy.
But yeah, it's a really small town, and literally right across the road is the new cemetery, not the new cemetery, the new church.
Yeah.
Which feels very like Pentecostal, like maybe
it very feels like that.
But I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if like they have one of those ceremonies where like they hold up venomous snakes and they're like, "God will not let me perish." I'm sorry, Stull. It's just you have to get past like the reputation is there now.
Yeah.
But it was fun. It's out in the middle of nowhere. They have fences that say "Do not trespass" all over everything.
Makes sense.
But during the day, the gates are open. You're fine to go in to visit.
Nice.
I always say if you are being a ghost tourist, always be respectful of both the living and the dead.
Yeah.
Make sure you go in. If people are there actually grieving family members, maybe don't be a dick.
Oh my God.
I mean, I don't think that's possible in Stull. Like, a lot of the graves are very, very old.
Yeah, there's no one grieving in Stull.
I mean, like, I'm talking about like super old graves that their closest of kin are probably also dead at this point.
That makes sense. Yeah.
But yeah, like, be respectful if you go to these places. Pretty much it was me, my ex, and a friend of ours, and we went and we just looked around, walked around a bit, took some pictures. I was interested in some of the graves that were there. I like to take some of the names and look them up and maybe find some of the history.
Fair enough.
It was a while ago. I can't remember any of the history now. But yeah, like, it's a lot of fun. These stories are fun. We get to learn, but if you're going to go to some place, make sure you're respectful.
Yeah, there's so much just like a lack of care or respect for the people living or dead around you in a lot of people's minds, and I don't know why. Maybe it's a content thing. Maybe we're just like, oh, this picture is gonna look great on Instagram, or like, obviously YouTubers do this all the time, where they just like, they'll be complete assholes in the hopes that, you know, it gets them clicks and they get to make money off it. And I feel so bad being associated with the YouTubers.
With YouTubers?
It's just I mean, I feel it's weird.
Yeah,
it's weird. People do not have respect, and that's something that needs to come back.
Gate of Hell, fucking awesome.
That is pretty cool.
I mean, you're not going to see anything. Apparently what happens on Halloween is they literally have to have a permanent patrol right there next to the cemetery now.
That doesn't surprise me one bit.
Because so many people would come in and they would leave trash and they would vandalize things. And so now they have a permanent patrol there, which explains the giant fence that surrounds the place that says no trespassing everywhere now. Like, it was ruined because people were dicks. But anyway.
People don't respect anything. Oh, it's nasty.
No, I remember I went there, and as we were leaving, I literally waved to no one. I said, "Thank you for letting us visit." And my partner looked at me like I was like possessed. And I was like, I mean, I don't know. It feels weird to come to like graves that we don't have any connections to and
True. Yeah.
like see them as a tourist site. Like I think we should at least thank them for their time. I don't know. Maybe I'm weird.
My parents have taken me to a handful of cemeteries, and I never understand why. Because they're not even cemeteries with like mythical legends attached to them. They're just like, yeah, let's go tour the cemetery for some reason. I'm like, huh? Why? What's the point of that?
Cool.
I don't give a shit about any of these people. I'm not gonna like, I'm not gonna be rude and disrespect them, but I'm like, I'm not interested in this random stranger who I'd never met anyone or the descendants of. Like, it just, ugh.
I don't know. I've always found
weird
peace in
thing.
cemeteries. I've always thought of them to be very cool. Found them to be very peaceful.
It's just
and
weird.
Unlike most people, I think most cemeteries aren't haunted because a lot of the emotions that people have that I think cause hauntings don't happen at the cemetery.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It has always felt very peaceful in cemeteries, and I always like to, look at the names and think of the stories that are there. And I don't know. I like cemeteries. I think they're cool.
Aw, cute.
This has been Rank Masters.
Yeah, I don't know.
Thank you all for joining. Sorry for like some of the triggering content here, but hopefully you learned a little bit about Kansas. Maybe too much about Kansas.
This is the gate to hell that we live in.
Yeah, we live in the literal gate to hell.
Yeah, we're actually both citizens of Stoll.
Oh my god.
that
so
damn ghosts keep hitting you.
Yeah, I was like, there's so much, like, no lie, kind of spooks.
All right. Well, we're going to end the episode here. Chase is going to go find a ghost hunter to take care of whatever is making that noise.
I'm the ghost hunter.
You're the ghost hunter. You just scare him off, Trace.
Oh my god. Thank you all for listening. It's been fantastic. If you have suggestions for lists,
please send us them. We have a list of lists, and we have a decent amount to take care of.
We're not running
every
out.
time. It feels like we are. Because it feels
Seth
like
feels like we're running out.
More episodes than we're adding to the list.
It's
so
like every time.
Ideas.
It's like every time I go and research, I find more lists, and for some reason, Seth is like stressing that they're running out of lists. I don't know.
I get stressed about shit. Okay, it happens.
Thank you for listening. Hopefully, you enjoyed it. Tell us your favorite. Your favorite urban legend that you know of in the comments if you're on YouTube.
Just tell us your favorite. Just tell us your favorite. I don't care what it is. Just tell us. Bye.
I want to learn more. See y'all.
Bye.